After the tragic death of their first daughter, Isabella, in a car accident, Claire and David were devastated. It took years to heal, but when they had their second daughter, Harley, their joy was immense. They became overly cautious, never letting her out of their sight and fulfilling her every whim. Harley was their light, and they couldn't bear the thought of losing her too. When Harley turned 5, however, strange things started to happen. One day, during a visit to a toy store, Harley's eyes fixated on a doll that looked oddly familiar to Claire. It was the same doll Isabella had cherished. Claire hesitated, but decided it was just a coincidence and bought Harley the doll, thinking perhaps their daughters simply had similar tastes. That night, Claire heard faint giggles and soft whispers coming from Harley's room. Thinking Harley was just talking to herself, Claire entered and asked, "Harley, who are you playing with?" Harley looked up with wide, innocent eyes and said, "Mummy, I'm playing with my doll. It can talk." Claire's heart skipped a beat. The doll had no talking function. She brushed it off, thinking it was just her daughter's imagination. Kids often made up wild stories after all. But something deep inside her felt wrong. The whispers continued night after night. Claire would lie in bed, listening to the soft voice of her daughter, and another, quieter, colder voice answering her. It unnerved her more each time. One evening, as she lay awake in the dark, she could swear she heard the doll crying. Claire spoke to David about it, but he dismissed it. "She's just a child, Claire. It's all in her imagination." Claire tried to convince herself of the same, but one day Harley said something that shook her to the core. "Mummy, where is Isabella's doll?" Harley asked, her small face full of curiosity. Claire froze. Isabella? Harley had never been told about her older sister, nor had she ever seen Isabella's belongings. Claire had hidden all traces of Isabella's life away after her death, including the doll. There was no way Harley could have known. Terrified, Claire decided to keep a closer eye on Harley. That night, as she passed by Harley's room, she peeked through the door and saw her daughter sitting up, the doll in her lap. Harley was talking to it in whispers, and Claire could have sworn she saw the doll's lips moving, responding in a quiet, eerie voice. Unable to shake the feeling that something was very wrong, Claire decided to take the doll away. But when she entered Harley's room to do so, Harley screamed, "No, Mommy, Isabella won't let you." The air in the room grew icy. Claire's blood ran cold. Trembling, she backed out of the room, the door creaking shut behind her. Around midnight, Claire decided to take a walk outside to clear her mind. As she passed by the garden, she saw something that made her heart stop. A small figure standing in the shadows. It looked like Isabella, pale with a face full of sorrow, her eyes hollow. Claire screamed, waking the entire house. David rushed outside, but there was nothing there. The garden was empty, save for the swaying trees. Claire was shaking, certain she had seen her dead daughter. The next day, determined to get rid of the doll, Claire searched Harley's room but couldn't find it. Panicked, she asked Harley, "Where's the doll?" Harley looked up with a chilling smile and said, "Isabella's with me now, Mummy. She doesn't want to leave." It all became clear. Isabella's spirit wasn't resting. She was trapped inside the doll, and through Harley, she had found a way back into their lives. But this wasn't the sweet, loving child they had lost. It was something darker, something vengeful. Claire knew they had to get rid of the doll, but every time they tried, it would reappear in Harley's room the next morning. The house grew colder, the whispers louder, and the once joyful laughter of their daughter now carried an eerie, unsettling tone. One final night, Claire woke to the sound of Harley's voice, except this time it was deeper, more sinister. When she entered Harley's room, the doll was gone, but the shadow of a little girl stood by the window, staring at her. "Why did you let me die, Mummy?" the voice whispered. It was Isabella. Claire collapsed to her knees, sobbing, but when she looked up again, the shadow was gone. The room was empty, but she knew Isabella wasn't gone, and she never would be. From that night on, Harley was never the same. The sweet girl they had raised now looked at her parents with cold, knowing eyes. The whispers continued, but Claire knew now. It wasn't the doll anymore. It was Isabella forever haunting their lives, and she would never let them forget.